to a special edition of Time Warner today. I'm Sharon Hanson, and I'm so excited to have with me today Susie and Dennis Garvey. And they are the founders of Kevin Guest House. Yes, the Kevin Guest House that you know, and some of you have had the pleasure of going there like I have, and you know that it's a beautiful place, a very much needed and welcome addition to our community. And they're going to tell you all about Kevin Guest House. But firstly, they're going to introduce themselves and say hello to Buffalo. Susie, Dennis, welcome to Buffalo.
Hello, Buffalo.
It's nice to have you here.
Thank you.
It's very nice to be in Buffalo. We've been back several times over the years, primarily as a result of Kevin's house. But we're really excited to be back here in Buffalo, and this being the 35th year of Kevin's Guest House, and it's the inauguration year, 35th year of Kevin's Guest House starting, and so we're very excited about being back here for that.
Oh, that is so wonderful. Now, you don't live in the Buffalo area. You live in North Carolina.
No, we both live in Charlotte, North Carolina. Susie and I have been married for 27 years, and we've moved around, but for the last 14 years, Charlotte, North Carolina has been our home. A little bit different weather than Buffalo in the wintertime, but at any rate, we've been there, as I say, for the last 14 years, but we feel as though there's a kinship here in Buffalo. Again, Kevin's house. Kevin was my brother. My youngest brother, who died of leukemia in 1972, and my mom and dad started the house in Kevin's honor, and again 35 years ago, July 26th, we celebrated the 35th anniversary of Kevin's house.
Yeah, like I said, it's a wonderful and welcome addition to our community. You provide such a service to people that need a place to go and to be able to relax after spending a day at the hospital with a sick loved one. And Kevin Guest House has that atmosphere. It makes people feel so welcome and warm.
It's the first house in the country, and there are hundreds of other medical hospitality houses in the country, and that's they're the first. That's how Ronald McDonald got their idea, and how hundreds of other houses got their idea.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity for the last 6 years to be on the National Association board that oversees the houses around the country, and there are, as Susie said, there are a couple hundred other homes similar to Kevin's house that provide the same service, that have the same mission that Kevin's house has. But Kevin's house was and we're proud of this, very proud of it, but Kevin's house was the inaugural hospitality house in the country. And it serves a wonderful need. If I might tell just a brief story about how the thing began was, Kevin was diagnosed with leukemia, as I said, in 1970. And so during that 18-month period between then and the time he died, Mom and Dad spent a lot of time up in Buffalo with Kevin at Roswell Park Memorial. And it was during that period of time when they were with Kevin for weeks on end that they met a lot of other people that had the same situation that they had with Kevin, who could not afford a place to stay for weeks at a time. And they literally, I remember Dad telling us about coming back to the hospital the next day after being gone to their hotel room and coming back and seeing some of the same people that they had talked to the night before, who had children in the same wing with Kevin, sleeping on the hospital benches and in their cars. And a couple times coming back home to Sharon, Pennsylvania, I remember Dad talking to the family about the fact that there's got to be a better way. And so it was shortly before Kevin died, one Sunday, they were just driving around, Mom and Dad and Kevin were driving around Roswell just to get Kevin out of the hospital, and they drove up Ellicott Street, went by 782 Ellicott Street where the house is, and there was a for sale sign on the Kevin Guest House property. It wasn't Kevin Guest House at the time, but this old Victorian home had a for sale sign on it, and Dad said to Mom, "I'm going to buy that house." And so Kevin passed away in January of '72, and the house opened its doors this past July. Opened its doors July 26, 35 years ago. And the people that work in that house that Susie and I have had the opportunity to meet over the years are just incredibly giving, and it's just a terrific, warm atmosphere when you visit Kevin's house. You can't go there and talk to the people that have had the opportunity to stay there as opposed to a hospital and not come away feeling really incredibly good about how that house has made them feel comfortable during what is really an incredibly difficult time in their lives. And again, having gone through that I was 21 at the time when Kevin died, and I know how difficult it was for Mom and Dad during that period of time to be up there. Kevin with the illness is tough enough, but then I can't imagine not having accommodations that made you feel comfortable during that period of time. So that is what Kevin's house, that's the need that Kevin's house serves, and we're really proud of it.
And you should be, rightfully so, and you're so involved with it. It's amazing to me. You mentioned that you live in Charlotte, North Carolina, but yet you're up in the Buffalo area, and Kevin's Guest House is going strong. And Susie, I understand you're on the board.
Yes, Mrs. Garvey died last fall, and Wayne Zimmerman, he's executive director, he had the idea we need a Garvey connection. And so now I'm on the board, and I'm on the board until 2011. So I'll be enjoying your Buffalo winters. I love snow, so be happy to come.
Well, we don't have much snow lately. I think it's all a myth
That's
about
a
the
myth.
snow.
Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. So don't be
The
disappointed.
family is really proud of that Susie's doing that, and she has had plenty of experience in volunteerism with all the board and board activities that she's been involved in Charlotte, all the volunteerism. So this is a natural for her, and I know that the board at Kevin's house, which is a terrific board, and we're really excited about that. The family's really proud of the job they're doing. We know that Susie's going to be a really good addition to that board. Wayne Zimmerman, as the executive director, has done a terrific job, and again, the family is just so supportive of Wayne and his efforts, and also the board. And repeating myself, but the volunteers that work in that house, the staff and the wonderful volunteers that work at that house, really, they are the face of Kevin when somebody walks across that front door, and it really is impactful. So we're really proud of it.
Well, you're on not only Kevin Guest House board, but I guess you serve on a few other boards at home when you have extra time, huh?
I also serve on Hospitality House of Charlotte's board in the executive committee, and it's similar to Kevin's Guest House.
And you mentioned that there are many houses around the country, but they're not all Kevin Guest House. They all have different names?
No, they do. Again, I've had the opportunity, having served on the national board for 6 years, to speak at different conventions and meet with a number of other people who've started a home, again, same mission as Kevin's, but there's Linda's house and Kathy's house.
Reba McIntyre has a house.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah, there are an awful lot of, well, there's several hundred that are in the association that we know of, but we also know that there are literally hundreds of other homes that are just not aware of the National Association, and that's one of our missions, is to get more notoriety about the National Association being there to support the homes. But all of them have the same mission, and again, it's providing a comfortable, safe, and caring spot for people to stay, patients or caregivers to stay while their loved ones are in a nearby hospital. And Buffalo, Kevin wasn't here by accident. Dad and Mom researched the best cancer institutes at the time, back in 1970 when Kevin was diagnosed, and Roswell Park Memorial was at that time, and I think still is today, considered one of the best. And there are a lot of, the medical facilities, the medical community here in Buffalo is terrific, and Kevin's house serves virtually all of the medical community, patients in the medical communities here in Buffalo, as well as 48 people from 48 states and 9 countries have stayed at Kevin's house.
Over 36,000 people have been served.
Is that 36,000 people?
36,000 people in 35 years have stayed at Kevin's house. So it's a terrific legacy, but again, it's made possible by the people that work at the house, that volunteer their time and efforts at the house. So the community in Buffalo has been generous, and we encourage as much generosity going forward as we can. In the house, it's only sustained by the efforts and contributions of the people that in the Buffalo area and around the country that have made financial contributions to the house. The house, when it began, Dad charged $1. That was what it cost to stay there. And Susie remembers him saying, I said, "Why $1, Dad?" And he said, "Well," he said, "that people will feel pride if they are contributing something to their stay as opposed to it being free." Today it's $20 to stay at Kevin's house, or it's nothing if you can't afford it. But the people that we've met that have stayed there have said it's just a godsend. We've gotten letters from people around the country and from other parts of the world that Kevin's Guest House has forwarded letters to Susie and to me, written by these people that are thanking us, and it's nothing that we did. Mom and Dad had a vision, but at the end of the day, it's the people that work at the house and the folks that support the mission of Kevin's Guest House that makes it all worthwhile and possible.
I applaud your recognition of the volunteers that are involved, because without volunteerism you wouldn't be able to get it done.
Exactly.
No, that's for sure. It's not a high budget house. It's the money that's contributed to Kevin's house doesn't go to pay staff and high salaries. It goes to support the upkeep of the house, and again make it possible for people to stay there that otherwise could not afford to stay in a house like that. So, and it's directly across the street. For people that aren't aware of Ellicott Street, and maybe most people in Buffalo are, but it's an old Victorian home, and it's a little campus. There are 9 rooms and 18 beds in the house, in the main house, and then there are 4 apartments, right behind the house that are used for bone marrow transplant patients. And so those 3 buildings and the property are sustained by contributions and grants that provided to Kevin's house. So we definitely encourage giving, but if you've not, for those in Buffalo that have not been by Kevin's house, they need to come by sometime and take a look. It's a beautiful old Victorian home, and it is just a couple hundred yards across the street from Roswell Park Memorial, so, and Buffalo General.
Now, how does people find out about it if they're coming into the Buffalo area and need to find out about Kevin Guest House? How would they do that?
I would imagine the hospital would tell them. I know in Charlotte it's patient reps tell the people, but I imagine the hospital personnel tells them.
Susie and I, on our recent trip to Kevin's house, took a walk over to Roswell Park Memorial, and we noticed a painting of Kevin's house on the wall by the reception area. So yeah, the people in the hospitals are aware. I mean, it's the last home, so to speak, in the area. It's all a medical community, but Kevin's house, dating back to 1870, 1867, has been there forever. But so the people that work in the hospitals are aware of it. But I think word of mouth. I mean, again, from Buffalo's perspective, and I've said this to folks when I've talked to groups here in Buffalo, that I think Kevin's house is one of the best ambassadors that Buffalo could have. I mean, if you think about the fact that most of the people, the vast majority of the people that stay at Kevin's house aren't from Buffalo. They're from other states, other communities, and other countries in many cases. And so their only experience and exposure to Buffalo is their stay at Kevin's house and the treatment that their loved one is receiving in a nearby hospital. So when they leave Buffalo, that's the sum total of their experience in Buffalo. And I think what a terrific ambassador the house is in providing that sort of comfort to those people who then go home and talk about Buffalo. Kevin's Guest House is Buffalo in their minds. So I think it's a wonderful asset to the city of Buffalo.
If they don't see anything else and just come and stay at Kevin's Guest House, what a wonderful memory most of them will leave here with.
Right,
Absolutely.
and they usually don't see anything else. They want to be with their loved one in the hospital, and they spend all day there, and then they come across the street and have a great place to sleep.
All right. We're going to take a little break, and then we can come back and talk a little bit more about Kevin Guest House and the fact that even patients go there sometime. So if you'll stay with us, we'll be right back. I'm Sharon Hansen, and this is a special edition of Time Warner Today. We're learning all about Kevin Guest House. It's over at 782 Ellicott, and people come there from all over our country to stay there, and sometimes people even stay there when they're sick themselves. And we're going to talk a little bit about that with Dennis and Susie Garvey, the founders of Kevin Guest House. So earlier, Dennis, you mentioned the fact that you have a section of the property there where bone marrow patients go to get treated?
Right. There are 3 buildings on the campus, as we call it. There's the main house, but then there are 2 additional houses, old carriage houses that date back again to the 1800s. but they've been remodeled, and they are set up specifically for bone marrow transplant patients. There are a total of 4 apartments that serve bone marrow transplant patients, and the average stay for these patients is 100 days. The only requirement is that the patient have a caregiver with them during that entire period of time. So these apartments are set up to be able to accommodate the patient and a caregiver, and again,
their family too,
and their family as well. But yeah, those are again, they're germ-free. They're set up specifically for these patients, and again, Susie and I have met several of these patients over the years that have stayed there, and the ability for them to be able to be in that sort of a comfort zone while they're going through this really traumatic time in their life is so meaningful, as opposed to a hotel or a motel, if they can even afford that. So they are most appreciative, and again, it's just a wonderful thing, I think, for the city of Buffalo to have this type of a facility there to provide that kind of care for these patients.
It's a testament to the care given at Kevin Guest House, the cleanliness of it, because to have bone marrow transplants going on there is a wonderful, wonderful thing, that a patient can come there to rest and relax and be in a warm atmosphere while that's going on in their lives. It's a wonderful testament to Kevin Guest House.
And the main house is spotless. I mean, anybody that's ever walked in that house, it is remarkable, and as many people as Susie and I have said, 36,000 people over the 35 years that the house has been in operation. For that many people to come through there, and it being an older home, it is immaculate, and the people really take pride. The people that stay there take pride in the room that they're staying in. It's an extremely clean facility, and it's a happy. You just feel welcome when you walk in the building.
I've told Jeff Davis, the maintenance man, I'd like to take him home with me. It is so clean.
Well, our viewers are having a look at Kevin Guest House, but they won't be able to see the cleanliness of it as you've described it. It just is remarkable that something like that could happen in a home.
Well, we'd like to invite them to come whenever they'd like to take a tour. They're always welcome.
They are absolutely. The public is always welcome at Kevin's house. And word of mouth is usually the best way to spread the message of what Kevin's house is there for. So we would definitely welcome that.
How is Kevin's Guest House supported? Like, I know you must have events. I know I've attended the Affair of the Heart, and that's an annual event.
It is a nonprofit organization, so it's all from grants, donations. They have fundraisers. In fact, they will be. I'm on the board, we will be having the Oktoberfest in October, and then the Affair of the Heart, which will be the 35th, and hopefully a lot of the Garvey family will be there. 10 years ago, Mrs. Garvey was alive, and we had our family reunion at the Affair of the Heart, so hopefully we can do that again this year.
Yeah, I hope that many of my family will be able to come back for this. The Kevin's house is called the House with a Heart. I mean, and I don't know, maybe your viewers may be interested in how that all came about, but Kevin's nickname actually was Heart when he was a little boy. And there's a story behind that. Dad and Mom, this is years before Kevin became ill, took all of us on a little trip to Niagara Falls, loaded up into a Volkswagen bus, and drove to Buffalo and went to the falls. We stayed at a Holiday Inn near the falls, and our rooms were in a courtyard. And the first morning that we were there, everybody gets up and jumps in the Volkswagen bus and takes off, and Dad's about 5 minutes away, and he starts doing the normal head count. Mary here, John here, Dennis here. Gets down to Kevin, and we realize Kevin's not with us. And so in a panic, and Kevin was just the sweetest kid, but afraid of birds and afraid of the dark and all that. Realizing Kevin was not there, they made a complete U-turn in the middle of the intersection, raced back to the Holiday Inn. Everybody jumps out and runs towards the room where we knew Kevin was, and there were the sliding glass doors. Kevin was standing between the curtain and the glass door, and it was all steamed up because he'd been crying so much. And so when we opened up the door, Kevin said, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. So instantly his nickname became Heart. And to this day, again, it's the symbol of Kevin's house. And on Kevin's tombstone is a heart. So that's where the heart comes from.
Okay.
It's where the Affair of the Heart Ball got its name. And we're really proud of that. And that's a wonderful event. Again, the public is invited to attend. And it's one of the main fundraisers for Kevin's house each year. So.
Wonderful. And what about the Oktoberfest you mentioned also?
I have not been to an Oktoberfest, but I know that we're starting to advertise for that, and it just seems to be a very fun event. It'll be, I'm not sure the dates, but you'll be seeing a lot of advertising.
It's a tradition here, is it not? I believe that.
Oh yes, absolutely
So,
it is. Absolutely it is.
And then we have a luncheon in the spring, and I was here for that, and it was wonderful.
Now, how often do you come up to Buffalo?
Well, I'm trying to come up every other month, and sometimes I've made it every month, and then I have not been here for 2 months. So we're just going to see how it fits in my schedule, but I would hope to come at least every other month.
It demonstrates your passion for the place that you, living in Charlotte, North Carolina, would come up every month or every other month to attend a board meeting. That's wonderful.
I do this for Kevin and for Mr. and Mrs. Garvey. They really had a fabulous idea that no one had thought about, and it's just very important to both of us.
And every time we come here, Susie and I are both, we leave sort of rejuvenated, again, by meeting the people that work at the house, that volunteer their time, and all of the stories, and everyone has a story of the people that have been consider themselves fortunate enough to stay at Kevin's house, and it just reinforces the mission and reinforces how important this house is to people in such difficult time of their lives. So, yeah, coming back to Buffalo, it recharges both of our batteries and makes us that much more certain of the mission of Kevin's house. So.
Well, it would have to. I mean, you're celebrating 35 years. That is a remarkable accomplishment of serving this type of community with that type of need. That is wonderful.
We went to the first ball 35 years ago.
That's right. Yeah, it's hard to believe it's been 35 years. Kevin would be 48. Would have been 48 this past June 5th, and that's hard to imagine. He was 13 when he died, but his spirit lives on through the house. I mean, you can't go in there and not feel that spirit of Kevin. And as I said, to me, I see it in the faces of the people that work there. They present Kevin's face to the people that walk across that threshold and stay at Kevin's house. So.
And that's got to be a blessing to you and your family, that his memory can live on like that every day, with heart in it, with his nickname being Heart, and helping other people who are having real heart problems themselves, and in the difficulty with their loved ones.
It was, and it was very difficult for Mom and Dad losing Kevin. I mean, that was, you never get over losing a child, but I think having the connection of Kevin's house and having a way of giving back something and keeping Kevin's memory alive was absolutely important to Mom and Dad when they were alive, and it's very important, as Susie said, to our family, all of our family, my brothers and sisters, and again, being so proud of Susie being on the board here. So.
And it's meant a lot to hundreds of thousands of people from all over the world that have come to all these hospitality houses in the country.
Literally, that's true. A couple 100,000 people have been served in hospitality houses throughout the country now, and again, Kevin's house making that first footprint in that direction. But it's hard to imagine that back in the 70s, there wasn't such a thing. And as Susie mentioned earlier, Ronald McDonald got its start. McDonald's actually came and studied Kevin's house in 1974, went back and took the overall marketing concept of Kevin's house, and that's where Ronald McDonald's got its start. So you think about all the people and the children that have been served through Ronald McDonald houses. It really is incredible how many people overall worldwide have benefited from the concept. But each one has a terrific story and heartbreaking story in many ways. But the fact that a house like Kevin's house can provide some semblance of comfort during that period of time.
Home away from home.
Yeah, it is a home away from home for them.
Perfectly
Yeah.
said, perfectly said. And it is a blessing to our community, and we thank you very, very much for continuing to keep that alive for the community and for those people who need a home away from home. And we're blessed in our community to have Kevin's Guest House here. And I'm so happy that you could come on the show today.
We are honored that you had us on the show, and it gives us an opportunity to brag a little bit about Kevin's House, but again, encourage the community to continue to support Kevin's House in any way possible. So thank you very much for giving us this opportunity.
All right. And the message is up on the board, the address, the telephone number, and the website where you can make a donation to Kevin Guest House. Thanks for joining me for this special edition of Time Warner Today. I'm Sharon Hanson, and I'll see you the next time.